So the Apex developers recently answered a lot of our questions relating to Season 23, and they told us what's up next from new legend buffs, new legend reworks, new class reworks, and some unreleased legend abilities. So let's get into all of that, starting off quickly with why they chose to actually rework Lifeline, and the backstory is that they originally just wanted to change Lifeline's care package as it felt underwhelming and seemed like a beacon that just showed all the enemies where you were, and when they looked into her care package and reworking it, they actually just looked into her whole kit and decided, let's rework her. So why did they give her a glide passive? Well, it turns out the developers just loved the way it looked in these cinematic trailers when Lifeline would use her dock drone to glide to an area or fly for a short amount of time, and that's actually why it got added to the game. Regarding the glide, some players did ask the devs if they would add a UI like a fuel meter to tell us how long we have left on our glide, and the developers' response was that it would clutter the HUDs and you can just use visual and audio effects to determine how long left is in your glide. Apparently the drone starts beeping halfway through the passive, which actually lets you know how far along you are. So they talked a little bit about Lifeline, but a lot of people asked, who's next? Which legend do they want reworking next? And are they currently reworking any legends right now? Well, the developers responded and they said they couldn't say too much, but they aren't actively reworking a legend right now. So in the dev build of the game, they're not currently building a new legend. A lot of people want Ashe to get reworked, but that's not happening right now. However, they said they are still always looking at ways to improve underperforming legends. So developers are certainly thinking about reworking other legends and what legends need reworking next. But as for which legend, we don't know yet because nothing is actively being pursued right now. Let me know in the comments which legend you'd like to see rework next. I think for me, it's definitely Ashe, and I think that would work well lore-wise, especially with the lore going on right now, but no confirmation from the devs. People also asked if the late Season 23 trailers were intentional, and the devs did confirm that they were intentional and they wanted to mimic Apex's original launch by dropping a trailer on the day of release. So that answers why we got no news about Season 23 until the day of the update. So hopefully for future seasons, this won't be the case and we won't be left in the dark for as long. I know a lot of players were frustrated, but I guess because of the OG event, then it was kind of on purpose. Now, any Mad Maggie mains might be pretty sad this season because Mad Maggie's ball can't destroy Lifeline's ult or Gibby's bubble anymore, and people are frustrated about this. And a lot of people asked this question on the AMA, and a dev responded saying they wanted to let Gibraltar shine this season since he was at the bottom of the pick rates last season, which is the reason for Maggie's ball no longer breaking the Gibby Dome. Of course though, Lifeline's ultimate came out and she can't break that either, and that's because they want Lifeline's ultimate to be a secure place where your team can regroup and then re-engage in the fight, and you want to feel safe while inside the Lifeline ultimate. However, they did mention that they do want to make adjustments to Maggie's ultimate in the future to give it a more consistent identity. So that could just be minor changes to its values, how much damage it does, things like that, or it could be a whole new way of reworking Maggie's ultimate. Of course, they do want to keep Maggie's ball, but it looks like they are in a bit of a crisis with Maggie's ultimate, and they do want to find something that will give it its own identity and make it an ult that doesn't rely on whether or not it can break a Gibby Dome or a Lifeline ultimate. It wants to feel strong in its own way. So I think we could expect some changes to Maggie's ultimate pretty soon, and there's a likelihood we see that when they buff the Assault class. We'll get onto that in just a moment. But first, let's hear what the devs have to say about the support legends and the fact that support legends are too OP right now. Well, it turns out they made the support legends really OP this season on purpose to shift their identity away from just crafting dead teammates' banners to give them a more active role in the team. But they wanted it to hit strong this season, and that's why they're so overpowered. They wanted people to actually try these support legends, figure out their capabilities, and that's definitely happened with double healing, faster revives, faster movement while healing, crafting banners with respawn beacons, and healing your teammates to 100 health after a revive. Yeah, they're just so strong, and it's clear supports are OP, but the devs did say that we should not expect the current power to remain forever, in fact specifying that they'll be easing off at the end of Season 23, so we'll probably see some support nerfs going into Season 24, or some changes to make them a little bit less strong. They already started on that with specifically Lifeline and Newcastle, but that's basically their plan. They made them super OP so that everyone tries them out. It shifts the meta and gives people a chance to see what could be with the supports, and then they'll tweak them and make them less powerful or make other legends more powerful, which we'll get onto, because what is the next legend class to be buffed? Well, here's your answer. The Skirmisher and Assault legend classes are going to be getting a buff or a rework next. A lot of people were complaining that the developers forgot about the Assault and Skirmisher legend classes, but that's not the case. They're actually working on buffing those next. It's been the plan all along. And since they did already buff support and previously buffed controller and recon legends slightly by giving them some extra perks, like the fact that recon legends can get threat vision while aiming down sight, and controller legends get bonus armor while inside the zone, now it's time for Skirmishers and Assault legends. And it has been said for a long time that Skirmisher legends have the worst perk by a mile. Scanning care packages is just so bad. But the Skirmisher legends were some of the best legends in terms of movement and their abilities, but that definitely isn't justified now with how OP the other classes are. But it's good news because the buffs for Skirmisher and Assault are on the way, and we'll probably see them either next season or season 25. Now, as for how they'll buff these, I don't know. They'll likely add an extra passive like they did with the controller and recon legends, but who knows? If you have any ideas for Skirmisher or Assault buffs, let me know in the comments. But more specifically, there's two legends that are going to be getting buffed later this season. I wasn't really expecting this, but someone pointed out that Mirage and Loba feel left behind in the season as Lifeline, Gibby, and Newcastle outshine them by a mile. And a dev did respond and said that Mirage and Loba were intentionally left from the big kids table. However, you should expect to see them start to make some noise in the new year as the latter half of the season of support comes online. It is quite a cryptic response, but it sounds like they'll be releasing buffs for Mirage and Loba in 2025 during the later half of season 23. So right now, I think the devs are going on Christmas break. I think everything's kind of done. It's all wrapped up, and they'll come back in the new year. And then when the first updates start coming out in January, we're going to see Loba and Mirage buffs. And honestly, I'd love to see that. And they should just give Loba the tactical from High Energy Heroes, which lets her fly around in any direction with her bracelet. I personally think that would be awesome. And on Reddit, a developer made another comment specifying that Loba and Mirage buffs are coming. So I'm 99.9% sure those are happening later this season. And the developers also gave us a small insight on some unreleased abilities for Lifeline during her rework. Because of course, when they rework or make new legends, they go through tons of different abilities or scrap them completely. And these are some abilities that the developers had for Lifeline that never made it to release. So one version of Lifeline's ultimate ended up becoming Alta's ultimate. That's right, Lifeline was going to have a teleporter that would essentially let your team regroup just like Alta can, which does kind of make sense for a combat medic, allowing your teammates who have been knocked or low on health to come back to Lifeline's device and heal up with Lifeline, but they decided not to go with it and just gave that to Alta, which is pretty cool. They also had a version of the dock drone that was throwable at a long range rather than teleporting, so Lifeline would just yeet the dock drone, which again sounds pretty funny. But they also had a prototype for her ultimate that would boop any enemies out of its zone and try to actively keep them out. Now this might sound familiar because this was the leaked Lifeline ult that we talked about in the past, which was going to be the Shockbot 3000. Like we said, it would push enemies away and then hold them off so that you can hold an area and heal yourself without enemies getting too close. So it goes to show that the leaks we get are true. They're just from the development stage and obviously have room to change, as we saw in this one. So it turns out that leak was true and that was going to be her ultimate, but essentially that was tweaked and eventually became the Halo that we have now. So there you go. That is a summary of everything the devs talked about in the Reddit Ask Me Anything regarding why they reworked Lifeline. Do they think the support legends are too OP? And what legend buffs, reworks, and class changes are coming up next? That gives you some kind of roadmap of what we can expect later in season 23. So I hope you did enjoy, and let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.